Round number 11 is on the way, everybody. I cannot wait to see who escapes with a 3-0 in their draft pod this morning, setting themselves up for a very good run here as we hit the modern rounds later this afternoon. I'm going to pass it on over to the booth here to call the final round of draft here at Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3.
Well, thank you very much, Maria, and yes, welcome back to the booth here. My name's Riley. I'm joined by Marnie, and we're going to get stuck in with our next round of coverage right here, right now, down to the feature match area to check in with what's going on as we round out our coverage of Modern Horizons 3 draft. Marnie, I've enjoyed exploring this format at the highest level. I've enjoyed drafting in preparation for this event, and I don't imagine it'll be the last we see of Modern Horizons in the coming weeks as people learn, take away the stuff that we've come across here in Amsterdam, watching the best players in the world get across this format.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I don't know if it will go down as one of the all-timer great draft formats, but I will certainly remember it fondly, and I do think that it is a good format. And one of the things that I've really liked is just the subversion of some of my expectations going into the weekend versus how we've seen things already play out on camera, the players' choices and the drafting. Here, everybody's different approaches to the format, and of course, not always the decks that we expect to see sitting at the top, which is nice to see.
Yes, indeed. It's something that we've had a little bit of, I guess, a subversion of expectation, I think it's fair to say. You know, a lot of people thinking we'd come in and see just writhing Chrysalis all over the place, that these Eldrazi decks would be unbeatable. And look, they certainly can be very strong. But yesterday we saw a Dimir deck go 3-0, a Dimir mirror for the 3-0 slot in our featured pod. So a lot more depth to this format than I think people are perhaps aware of, given the ongoing narrative that, you know, the format may have less depth to it than we thought. And we're seeing that here with Ken Yukuhiro casting a turn 2 sneaky snacker. Again, Dimir seeming to be doing very good work. Here's a Kami.
Yeah, this is the playing for 3-0 match in pod 2 of our feature pods. Ken is on a blue-black splashing white deck, while Jonny is actually on an Abzan deck, primarily black-green with a small splash again for white. So the modify strategy, but again, we do see the color black heavily playing into both of these decks, and maybe really cementing the fact that some of these teams do believe that black is the best color.
Eldrazi repurposer here now for Guttman on turn number 3 after Wither and Bloom took care of the Kami.
One of the strongest commons in the set. Not the strongest, of course. That is reserved for a friend of ours who has been conveniently missing.
Notably absent.
Yes.
Suspiciously absent.
Yeah.
Where are they all going? People just first picking them and then just, you know, going into like Boros or Dimir
not
or
opening them in our camera seats.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. In any case, into 3, the repurposer now.
Yeah. Jonny, again, talked about it yesterday. A player that has historically struggled in the very short history of his playing career with paper Magic, just getting the mechanics of it down as a player who started during the online era, really, with MTG Arena. But went 6-2 yesterday. Unfortunate dip at the end of the day after a 6-0 start. Back here today, once again, 2-0 in draft, 1 match win away from a 6-0 in Limited, and really exciting for fans of Jonny and, you know, my Canadian countrymen to see him get it together here.
I'm sure he'll be very pleased. I enjoy watching the Aussies get up and about. We've got a couple of Australians as well flirting with the top end of town. Friend of mine, Joey B from Brisbane, has been doing all right. Hopefully we'll see him in the feature match area if he continues to perform. We'll see. But as it is right now, we've got
constructed MVP, Springheart Nantuko, has made an appearance here, bestowed onto an Eldrazi repurposer, and a land was played, so I believe Jonny is making a copy of the repurposer and then a Guide of Souls.
Oh boy, lucky that we've got the Aether Spark to deal with that. Guide of Souls, widely considered to be the best card in this limited format, although obviously much more impactful when cast on turn number 1. But Ken Yukuhiro will have been very happy to have dealt with that as efficiently as he did. In comes the Sneaky Snacker once again, 11 to plays 17. And Tamiyo meets the Story Circle, another one of these blue cards that is being played on the splash.
Yeah, this is a nice one. It is going to slow down the pressure quite a bit from Jonny. He does have two 3-3s, well, a 3-3 and a 4-4 here. So quite a strong board presence from Jonny, but Tamio meets the story circle, able to slow things down quite a bit and help Ken really remodel his hand if he needs to, though of course we saw it previously where it's just a bit too slow.
This is
Ah, one.
This was +1/+1.
Okay.
So 3 total.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think just confirming that the
4-4.
Nantuko's bestow actually does give does give a power toughness bump as well as an incredible ability. So really the card that just does it all.
It does it all, and we've seen it.
One of the best cards in the format, by the way, not just the constructed all-star.
And we have seen it do very, very good work in constructed, of course, and I'm sure we'll see it in the coming rounds as we enter into the modern portion of
Fringe
day
Jack.
number 2.
I don't think so. I don't expect any more of these in constructed.
You don't think so?
No, very fringe playable.
Fringe playable,
Yeah.
says Marnie Davuti.
I don't think there's any Nadu at the top table.
Supposed expert.
You have no proof of that.
I have no proof of that.
No.
I have many emails.
No, I don't think so.
P by P. Play by play. Riley. Expert. Expert Marnie Davuti.
Don't
No?
think so.
No, he's deleted them all from there. He's hacked the deep web and deleted every single one of them. All right, well,
News to me.
in any case, we will rely on Marnie's expertise to try to get us through these choppy waters of this limited format. As we see now, Shulganga coming down as a 5-mana 6/6. This is a pretty bomby rare. It can be cleanly answered by a number of cards in the format, Marnie, but if left unanswered, this card will get the job done. A 6/6 flyer is no joke.
No joke at all. And Jonny is at 9, facing down 8 power of flyers. And you can make as many repurposers as you want in this situation. They are not going to get you out of this current hole.
All right, well, let's see what Jonny can do in this situation. Don't know how many options he has, to be honest.
Kent got, I believe,
Cards.
1 card in hand? Yeah.
Okay.
He's fiddling with his lands at the moment just to give himself something to do. The old Brian Kibler approach.
Yeah, did discard 1 card to Tamio meets the story circle the previous turn. So we do see 2 clues able to beef up the hand a bit on the future turn. Of course, this turn tapped out. Jonny, on the other hand, 4 cards to work with. His biggest issue right now is the flyers, and one of the weaknesses of Jonny's deck is not that much removal in the main deck.
Gravedig here will bring back the Guide of Souls. Have another crack at getting this one on the table.
Can play the Guide of Souls and then play a land, gain some life.
Make 1/1.
Yep.
And gain 1.
Right, making a token here, so
Yeah.
not actually going to pay the 2 to make another copy of the Repurposer.
Yeah. And somehow you still benefit when you don't pay the 2.
Yeah,
Very reasonable
that's
card.
very, very good card.
Very reasonable.
Very, very good card.
Yeah.
Surprised to hear you think it's not going to have an impact in constructed.
I just don't see it happening. Where's it going to see play? What are you going to do with it?
What kind of decks are there out there that need creatures and lands?
I
Very,
can't come
very,
up with any.
very few. Very few.
Pick one lane, one or the other, creatures or lands.
Yes, that's the thing. You need to specialize to succeed.
Yeah.
All right. Insect comes down. We're going to see an energy counter and an extra life thanks to the Guide of Souls. It's the 1/1 comes on into play. And we've got 2 repurposes getting in here.
Okay. 7.
7. Yep.
And Ken's he's not playing around. He's just going to take 7, go to 7, down from 14.
Yep.
And to follow things
Gain
up now, we've
1,
got a Nightshade Dryad, gain 1, and an energy as well.
Jonny
And
says go.
pass it back to Ken. Now, Ken, large and in charge with these big flyers.
I think Ken has 2 copies of Breathe Your Last in hand. 3 total copies in the deck, 2 in hand. And that's going to make it quite hard for Jonny to mount a true offensive here.
So I think Ken is thinking about the 3rd chapter of Tamio Meets the Story Circle
Kami? Yes.
and decides to shuffle back the Kami.
Shuffle.
Yes.
Okay.
Lose the others. Up to 3, of course.
Ether Spike becoming less useful as the game goes on. And that consuming corruption is not great in this situation with only 2 swamps in play.
It does look like, thanks to the God of Souls and the amount of life Jonny was able to gain the previous turn, he is firmly the aggressor now, especially pushing that combat through with the attackers and Ken opting not to block. And looking over Jonny's list, I'm wondering if that was actually a bit of a bluff attack, because the only thing I can really see that would have benefited him to make that attack is a one-off copy of Wither and Bloom, but that's in his graveyard. So I'm not sure if he managed to push 7 damage through for essentially nothing
on the free skis.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as it is, Ken is not doing too much with his turn, just has a think about things and passes. He's under a fair bit of pressure now, given the board that Jonny is assembling.
Gain 1. Yep. And 1 energy.
Another repurposer made.
Okay. Now, this repurposer doesn't bring with it a scion.
No.
Oh, sorry, a spawn token.
It is an on-cast trigger.
Yes.
These are just entering the battlefield. It will get you a spawn when it dies, if it dies.
If it dies.
But at the moment, no.
Yep.
And now that Jonny has hit 3 energy, this Guide of Souls is online, which
Yes.
is something for Ken to be very aware of. Against Ken's hand, we believe 2 copies of Breathe Your Last.
And look at this. Everything's being sent in here. We can turn something into an angel, chuck it up into the sky, a couple of +1/+1 counters, and a flying counter.
A lot of text.
Yep.
And remember, once those counters are on it, it will also have trample, as all modified creatures here do. So now Jonny
Really,
taking advantage of the trample death touch
yes.
on the Dryad here, really just maximizing pressure. And I go back to that attack the previous turn. The fact that Ken just took it
Yep.
has suddenly put him in an absolutely horrendous spot here.
Yeah, his blockers aren't looking terrific in this in the face of what Jonny's put together here. This attack with everything indicates to me that Jonny's pretty confident the game's going to end more or less here. There's the threat of activation on the Oozewag, of course. His life total is high enough that I think he thinks he's probably safe even if this doesn't push lethal through, but we don't know exactly what's in hand. That could change the equation even further here. We'll find out as Ken lines up his blocks.
Yeah, so Ken can do this, and then Breathe Your Last the Oozewag. That would remove the trample from the board.
Okay.
So that issue is gone. And this is, I believe, 5 damage coming across, while Ken is going up to 8, gaining 1 because of the singular color.
Oh, sacrifice for blood, yeah.
Now that the trample is not an issue, he can sacrifice the snacker, get a blood token as well, and still has mana to pay for a clue. So is reasonably in a position where
3, 4, 5.
he can try to mount a comeback, but he is definitely still in trouble because there is a large board presence left from Jonny.
Yes, and a way to continue to gain energy and life as well with the Nantuko here, as we're seeing with the Eldrazi repurposer dying, creating a spawn token and buffering Jonny's life to a little more. Oh, and look at this as well. He's not going to have any shortage of creatures here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
3 life, that is terrifying for Ken.
Yeah.
Another life, another energy.
And then, of
the
course,
Kami.
the energy counters as well will
Yep.
mean that we're going to see the Guide of Souls fling more and more of these little creatures up into the air.
Yeah, I don't think Ken has any out here, even if he goes
I'm at 14.
Kami pass with Breathe Your Last up. There's just too many creatures. None of them are gaining you that much life.
You guaranteed an angel next turn thanks to the thanks to the saga there.
Right.
The Rise
The
of
Hunger Tide rises.
Yep. Will provide another energy counter at the least, and a land off the top provides another life and an energy counter. So Jonny's really stitched together a lethal board position here for poor old Ken, who's on 3 life and really struggling. His Shilgangar is not doing enough to lock things down.
Yeah, it turns out when you combine 2 of the absolute best cards in the set, that's an advantage.
Now, Jonny's just written down the word breathe. Wonder if that's to remind himself to, stay calm.
I
Cool,
think
calm,
it
and
is
collected.
a reminder of Breathe Your Last.
No.
No?
No.
Okay, my bad.
Probably just a little mantra for himself.
This is why I'm not the expert.
Well, you're not the expert, Money. Yeah.
I just can't analyze situations as well as you.
Yeah, he's written. He's keeping himself cool, calm, collected.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it is Breathe Your Last after all. No, you're right. It is Breathe Your Last.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
It is.
Okay.
No, certainly
No,
my
you're
bad.
bad.
My bad.
Sorry.
Very
sorry.
much my bad.
I just get confused easily.
Yeah. So Ken here having a good old think about what he wants to do. He's got another Breathe Your Last in hand here.
He will need to make a play soon, and I don't think there are any good ones. So we may just see Ken scoop it up. It is hard when Jonny has already said that I'm not scared of your hand the previous turn to try to bluff a series of cards that don't exist that would result in Jonny not making the lethal attack. And I think that is the process that Ken is going through right now.
He is really taking his time and thinking about it here.
Ken, of course, a very accomplished player himself. Quite a few top finishes in the past. It has been a while since we did see him, but he is back at the top level, and that is a delight to see.
Yeah,
as a
glad,
big
we're glad he's here.
Yukuhiro fan.
All right, here's this Kami, little 1/3 death touch. But is it going to be too little too late here for Ken Yukuhiro?
We know the answer is yes. So now it's just a matter of Mr. Guttman reaching the same conclusion.
All right, gains another life, gains another energy. Gains another permanent on his already chaotic board state here.
Looking through his graveyard, I believe. There is a Wither and Bloom there, if you somehow deem you need it.
So what do you kill here?
If you're in Ken's seat,
Yeah.
I think it depends on where the flying counters from the Guide of Souls go. But realistically, considering everything is one or less colors, it's probably going to be the Dryad, as that is a large flyer, equal or greater power to everything on the board, and it will gain you a life. But mathematically, it really doesn't matter. The numbers are not adding up in your favor. Those copy tokens are a reminder to those watching at home. Are Eldrazi repurposers, so those are 3/3s. And here we go.
You're going to see everything attack here. One of these insects can't attack. I think it was it's the one at the back there that we're treating as the one with summoning sickness. And Ken recognizes there's no way out for him there. It kind of fell apart. The wheels fell off as Jonny was able to pull together what ended up being quite a stupendous board there. The Nantuko, the Spring Heart Nantuko doing a huge amount of work there for the Canadian. And we move on now to game number 2. Let's see if Ken Yukuhiro can pull something a little more convincing together. Players will have had the opportunity to change their decks around a little bit with sideboard. It doesn't have a huge amount in Limited. Can here and there, but broadly speaking, I think we'll be looking at a very similar matchup here. So what has to go right for Ken now, Marnie, for him to feel like he's back in this game?
Well, step one is remove that Guide of Souls immediately, or else there might be no feeling like you're back in this game. Turn 1 Guide of Souls is absolutely terrifying, and Ken's hand looks like it has a Breathe Your Last, a Deep Analysis, and an Eviscerator's Insight. Is that a Breathe Your Last?
Doesn't look like a Breathe Your Last to me, no.
No. Okay, great. Is that a... Oh, that's Chthonian Nightmare, I think.
Oh, yes, Chthonian Nightmare.
Yes. Very exciting card. Unfortunately, not an answer to Guide of Souls anywhere to be found. So I think Ken is in massive trouble.
Dire Straits here.
Okay.
Find an answer. Here's a sneaky snacker. It's not going to do. He does have answers. He does have answers.
And most importantly, he has the beginning of a ridiculous game, potentially. Sneaky Snacker plus Chthonian Nightmare. And once you get these draw spells involved, things can get really out of hand. You sack the Snacker, you get something back. You bank some energy. You get the Snacker back by casting a Deep Analysis. The loops can get really weird and very powerful.
All right, well, here's an answer, potentially, to the Chthonian Nightmare in the form of Static Prison. Johnny's having to think about what he wants to go after here. It's going to actually be the Sneaky Snacker. Chthonian Nightmare, of course, a reference to the old card Recurring Nightmare, which we don't see too much these days, of course. But Chthonian Nightmare, a card with a lot of potential. Deep Analysis target me, says Ken. Looking, I think, desperately for an answer to this Guide of Souls. But the good news here for Ken is that Jonny seems to be missing land drops.
Yes. And if Johnny's not able to make land drops or find cheap creatures to play, the Static Prison is not long for the world. Static Prison plus Guide of Souls is an excellent combo for generating energy every turn to keep it going, but that does require you to actually be making plays, playing creatures. And that third land off the top, it is a landscape, but Jonny should have enough time to be able to fully utilize it.
All right, we've got a Kami here, and we've got our Marionette Apprentice as well. Kami of Jealous Thirst, a 1/3 Death Touch. The Marionette Apprentice, 1/2 Fabricate with a pseudo Blood Artist ability. 1 damage or a loss of life whenever a creature you control dies. So he's building out his board very nicely here. Jonny Guttman has found the forest, which presumably will unlock the cards in his hand.
He is going to need it because Ken is mounting a lot of pressure.
Gain 1 energy.
Oh boy.
gain 1 life.
Here we go again.
All right. A Spring Heart Nantuko, so now 2 answers required of Ken Yukuhiro.
But no land. That is the important part.
Sorry.
Yeah, 18.
Yeah. And go.
Yeah, pass the turn.
He found an energy, so that's one more turn of the Static Prison surviving, but it does really feel like right now Jonny is trying to empty the water flowing in using a, what would you say, a bucket, a glass? His ship is sinking.
Oh, he's
Yes.
bailing water out. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not very effectively.
No, he's using
Right.
like a colander. Yeah.
Colander, okay, perfect, great.
Yeah.
16 and 19.
So, Ken now. He's got a nice full grip.
Sorry.
4 cards there.
15.
I believe that was the second Sneaky Snacker played and immediately sacked to Eviscerator's Insight, if I'm not mistaken. Though, if that is the case, that should be in play. There we go. There you go. Okay.
Yep. Ken taking his time in resolving some of those triggers.
Yeah.
The Apprentice Marionette also took a while for it to proc.
Marionette procs. The Kami is also, I believe, either has already been used or can be used for free this turn. I believe it was already used.
It was already used.
Yep.
Oh, okay, sure. Down from 18 to 16. Yep.
All right. Jonny needs lands, and then he'll really get going. But if he doesn't find a land here, I don't know if there's any coming back into this game.
Even with the turn 1 Guide of Souls, maybe seeing that in his opening, be like, right, this is all I need. But the draw steps haven't been kind to him here as Ken comes in for another 3.
I can't imagine looking at a hand of 2 lands, Guide of Souls, Static Prison, and being like, no, I got to ship this.
Yeah.
You know,
you keep those hands.
yeah, you have to keep it. Some percentage of the time it's not going to work out, and this is that percentage of the time. As
Wow.
it does feel like
9.
there's just no coming back for Jonny
Yeah.
because
He's way too far behind.
he's
at
going
this
to
point.
lose this prison. Looking at his deck, there's no Wrath effect to really help stabilize things, and I think it is just, you know, GG here.
Yeah. So what we can see here as well is we can see the Eviscerator's Insight flashed back in Johnny's turn, right? To sacrifice the Sneaky Snacker, immediately bring it back, and we're going to see Jonny concede because not only is there an overwhelming board presence here for Ken, he also has that Kami of Jealous Thirst between the seemingly limitless numbers of ways to draw 3 cards. Each one of them represents an extra 2 damage, and that's on top of all the creatures that Ken had. So they're very tidy win now here for our Japanese player, and we go to game number 3 now between these 2 players. But look, you're not going to fault Jonny Guttman. The hand that he had, or as much of it as we saw at least, perfectly defensible keep, didn't quite get there. And so a loss goes the way of the Canadian, even after the turn 1 Guide of Souls. No Guide of Souls on turn 1 this time here, Marnie, as we see Jonny reach for the deck as he cracks a landscape here.
And I do believe that was a mulligan for Ken. 6 cards for him. Jonny
Like
keeping 7 on the play. So hopefully with a 7 on the play and a turn 1 landscape, his hand is a bit more cohesive this game than it was in the previous one. We certainly know the power of his deck is there. It is just a matter of the mana cooperating, as we have seen the theme be not just of today, but maybe the entire draft portion of the Pro Tour. Overwhelmingly, when in pods of high skill level, we do find players splashing a third color.
Yes, yeah. It's been a lot more common than I think a lot of people anticipated. It's certainly possible. We all know that with the landscapes, but the role that it's played at the highest level, maybe because there is just such this, this scrappy fight for the best cards in each pack, that you're sort of left with players happier to step outside of their lane than they normally would, right? You're playing, I don't know, Boros, and you see a good blue card, you're like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to find room for it, something like that. Tempest Harvester here now for Ken Yukuhiro. We saw a Hydra played just for 1 money.
Yes, Hydra played for 1. Maybe part of that is just wanting to curve out, have the ooze follow up on turn 3, and could start building it up. Though, of course, we saw Ken have the Wither and Bloom to stop the ooze from doing his thing and getting out of hand potentially. Johnny's curving out this game,
Yeah.
so he's happy. And going back to the idea of the 3-color splashes, I think part of it does have to do with the general design of the set, which is, yes, there are multiple archetypes across different colors, but there is overlap in archetypes. The modified archetype goes across a 3-color combination in each 2-color pair.
Yep.
Same with Eldrazi and same with Energy. So suddenly you do find yourself competing for the same cards with more people than you usually might.
And as a sort of a fact that's sort of adjunct to that is that the Dimir deck, which we're seeing once again, right, fight for a 3-0 finish at the Pro Tour. People aren't fighting over those.
Yes, that is.
The energy cards are being divided between the 2 or 3 energy drafters at the table. The Eldrazi cards are being fought over by these people, the people looking to pull together the modified deck. Even if they're not believing that black is the best color, they're looking for all the cards that have +1/+1 counters, whatever else. The person who is sitting there drafting the sneaky snackers, taking the deep analyses, taking the Eviscerator's Insight, they're uncontested.
Yeah, I had a prediction coming into the weekend that we may see Dimir be the best performing deck for that exact reason.
It's a shame that you didn't voice that prediction to anyone.
I did. You can ask Maria Bartholdi.
Really?
You can.
Known
receipts.
Known actress and performer.
How dare you?
Someone who enjoys getting on camera and
Maria!
lying.
Maria, help me.
Maria, he's bullying me.
Back to the game.
All right, we've got a Reefworm here. This one's a nice one, particularly in a deck with something like Eviscerator's Insight. There are answers to the Reefworm in the format that, result in it not doing its best work, but some of the time it is just a big pain in the bum to try to get through this card. A 0/1 that makes a 3/3 that makes a 6/6 that makes a 9/9, and look at this.
2 + 4, 6.
All right, so we are going to Trample Town here, and we saw the Oozewag activated there for its adapt, and then a Nesting Grounds activated to move a counter from the Oozewag to the Hydra. This enables a line for Johnny the next turn to move another counter from the Oozewag, clear it off, and then adapt again. Nesting Grounds, very slow, but able to do some very interesting shenanigans in these modified counter decks.
Yes, indeed, and I've seen it more than once be paired with Nadu. It's not often that you get to do that, obviously Nadu being a higher rarity card, but Nesting Grounds in conjunction with Nadu,
What's that card do?
Well, whenever you target one of your creatures, whenever one of your creatures becomes targeted...
We're in the last round of draft, it's not going to matter.
By a spell or ability, I won't bother explaining.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's fine. You can look it up yourselves. It's not like we're going to see this card on the camera at
I'll
any
figure
point.
it out.
All right, well, we've got our 3/3 fish now. And in the immortal words of the eminent philosopher Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a bigger fish.
Ah, of course.
Unless you got a 9/9. That's a kraken. I don't know if that's a fish or not. We'll see. According to many other eminent researchers, there's no such thing as a fish. So debate rages on now as we see Johnny continue to develop his board here. Things looking okay for him.
Ken had a Scurrilous Sentry come down the previous turn, so he's continuing to sift through and form his hand, and Johnny's pressure is mounting kind of, but he has to be aware of the fact that this Reefworm chain is going to keep going up.
Cursed Wombat here is really, really nice, particularly with the Nesting Grounds, moving 1 counter over from the Oozewag and putting 2 onto the Hydra because of the Cursed Wombat's ability.
I believe Ken's hand is Eviscerator's Insight, a land, and Marionette Apprentice. So deciding what to discard here, it is going to be the Swamp. But if that is in fact the Insight that I saw, that is going to be very big because this allows Ken to surprise upgrade up the food chain of the Reefworm.
Yes.
while Jonny may not be expecting it. And that could be quite a blowout in this situation because Jonny's ecosystem is a little delicate right now. He does have this nesting grounds plus the wombat plus the oozewag situation going.
But as any environmentalist in Australia will tell you, you mess with the nesting ground of a wombat,
right?
And you do have a very delicate ecosystem.
I will take your word for it.
Yes, indeed. I will say I've met many wombats in my travels.
Okay.
I haven't met any of them that seem to be particularly cursed. They're very, very happy little creatures.
Okay. Have you been to whatever plane this thing is from?
My main experience has been with Australian wombats.
Okay. All right.
Not these hellish demon hellspawn nightmare wombats that we can see on screen.
Maybe Dustmorn will have some more cursed wombats.
You think so?
I have no idea.
Cruising around the haunted house.
Absolutely no clue.
We will see. I did get a chance to look at some of the cards that were previewed from the preview panel here at Magicon Amsterdam in Duskmorn. We're heading there later on. An entire plane apparently that is just one big haunted house.
Nice.
No thanks.
No,
not for me.
You're not a fan of the haunted house?
I think I'll stick around in Bloomborough. That seems
okay.
seems much lovelier.
All right.
Alrighty.
The counters keep on moving.
Yeah, these wombats.
The delicate ecosystem continues.
Well, at the moment, the wombat is thriving, leaving little
Combat,
cube-shaped poo-poos all over the place as it gets in.
Oh, whoa, whoa. Let's calm that down. And
what are we going to see here? 4/5 wombat double blocked by the fish and the scurrilous sentry here. That's still a lot of damage coming through.
That is a lot of damage. I wonder if I missaw something in Ken's hand.
Check this out here, right?
Yeah.
Jonny Guttman has the option to. We're going to see. Okay, we're going to see a breathe your last here on the ooze. Okay, so that's going to. Ooh, maybe not.
How many cards?
Okay.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Marnie, but I believe a play that's available to Jonny Guttman here is to assign all the combat damage to the scurrilous sentry, so the 3/3 fish doesn't die.
Okay.
That is available.
Yes.
All right. First, we do see a collective resistance coming from Jonny to protect the oozewag, and as you said, he does opt to just kill off the sentry.
Yes.
Didn't have enough damage to kill off the fish anyways. The fish is a 3/3, I believe, and he was attacking with a 4-power creature, so couldn't kill both creatures regardless.
No. Sorry, my point more broadly is that when your opponent double blocks,
yes.
and even if your damage would,
correct,
sorry, not in this specific situation,
yes,
but let's
you
say
can over-assign in order to prevent something you don't want to die from dying.
Yes. So in that situation, let's say the wombat had 6 power, you would do 6 damage to the scurrilous sentry, 0 damage to the fish, and it wouldn't die. So that's something to keep in mind.
You could. I don't know if it would be worth it. You have to get through that fish eventually.
No, never.
Oh, never mind.
No,
my bad.
Not a problem. All right, here's the guy to souls now.
Okay.
Here's the guy to souls. I didn't realize it was possible for a commentator to suffer from fancy play syndrome from the booth, but somehow I managed it.
I don't think so. I think that was very reasonable.
Thanks, Marnie.
I believe in you, Riley.
Appreciate the vote of confidence, mate.
I got you.
Yeah. So Guide of Souls appearing once again. Extremely powerful card
The
here.
guide is here. No energy right now for Jonny. And Ken is at 5, but has quite a board.
All right, we're going to see a trigger from the Guide of Souls.
Energy 1. And 3 is a very terrifying number in this spot. Up the fish chain. Great.
Serrator's Insight.
All right, from fish to whale. That's how it works.
One.
Oh, so it's not even a bigger fish. It's just, it's a straight up, it's a bigger tooth whale. We're now into the set of sands.
It's a food chain.
I see.
I don't know how we are working our way.
I don't think krakens tend to eat whales. I think it's the other way around.
Unfortunately, the game of Magic the Gathering disagrees with you.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's to be believed then.
Okay, I think we should pause the match and get a biologist in here.
Yeah. That's the first.
But a kraken, specifically a kraken expert.
A krakenologist, exactly. Yeah.
Krakenologist. Okay.
Someone who's an
Could
expert
we
on none.
reach the judges and pause the game so we can sort this out?
Yeah. I think that's probably the number one. There's a cryptozoology marine biologist specializing in cephalopods, please.
Yep.
All right, we got a 6/6.
Yes.
The whale out and about.
Drop last turn. You played a land?
Yes, play one.
Jonny is just trying to confirm the situation as it stands, did Ken play a land drop, etc. I believe Ken has another copy of Breathe Your Last in hand.
Okay.
That is going to be very important here, as I believe Jonny will be trying to mount, and that should mount enough energy to get the
Yes.
Guide of Souls going. So
So
Ken will respond.
In response, we're going to see a Breathe Your Last on the Guide of Souls. Gain 1. Destroy this key 1 drop here.
So Ken is up to 6. Jonny now gets that Eldrazi spawn. This does mean he still has enough mana to activate one of these Oozwags. So Ken is a 6. Jonny has a 1-2, a 2-1, a 1-1, and a 6-6.
Yeah.
Right? So if we say that the 6-6 has to go in front of one of the Oozwags, right? Then he has a total of 4 toughness available to him, and Jonny is threatening 6, I believe.
It's going to be, now with this nesting grounds, there are going to be a lot of trample creatures. Essentially, whichever Oozwag is unblocked.
Next turn, he'll have mana
No
for
attacks.
both. So this turn, it was no attacks, but Jonny is very much setting up for a double
A
activation.
key turn here for Ken
Right.
Yukuhiro, who has to find a way to stabilize this board. Otherwise, he is going to go down in flames. And what has he found here? This
Anya.
is Anya Kenarud. Not sure exactly how that is pronounced, but the Sky Captain herself, there she is, you can see. Flying Lifelink. Now with a +1/+1
Very
counter as
important
well.
line. Flying
Yes,
lifelink.
Flying and lifelink
Yes.
here. So this, we said he needed a stabilization play, and now in the form of Anna Kenarud.
I believe Ken,
have exactly that.
Jonny was 1 damage short of lethal, by the way, the previous turn. I believe he had 5 trample coming on through. So 1 damage short. Not relevant now. The lifelink creature changes all of the math. And with Ward as well, Ward discard a card, it is going to take resources to remove Arna if Jonny even has an answer to Arna. And the terrifying thing about Arna is it really gets out of control fast, as we heard yesterday, Simon Nielsen attacking with a 144-144 Arna. These counters just keep doubling.
So if he's got a way to sort of jumpstart that, we've already seen the 1 token, or 1 counter, I should say, with the Wither and Bloom. If he's got another way to pile a couple of counters on that, or, as we see, I don't think he's going to be long on auras or equipment here, but anything that can beef this this Arna up will very, very quickly get out of hand, exponentially growing in the face of what Jonny's attempting to do. The fans of Balatro out there, I would say that this is more of an X malt, while all of what Jonny is doing is a plus malt.
Okay, great.
I feel like that's a reasonable. Did you play Balatro?
I do.
You would love it.
Yes.
Yes, you're very good at those sorts of games.
No.
No?
I'm
Just
very...
down here trying to be nice to your mate. He's like, no, no.
Thank you, Riley. I'm sorry. I'm great.
Yeah,
All right.
that's better.
All right.
That's what I expect.
My
Well,
bad.
you need to be your own biggest fan in this life. That's what I've learned. All right, here we go. Here's the attack. Now the double Oozwag's getting in here. And Ken
I'm at 6.
not putting his Arna in harm's way here.
Yeah, Jonny has to make a conservative attack, I would say. Ken confirming his life total. I'm at 6. Going back and forth about whether the whale is going to block the unmodified Oozwag or the modified one.
At which the unmodified one is threatening to become a 6/6. Nesting grounds tapped here, of course, as you can see.
Now, there is one sequence of these blocks that Ken considered briefly, which would have been the servo in front of the unmodified Oozwag, that I believe would have given Jonny lethal outs with specifically revitalizing repass in hand. But I don't believe this block gives that option to Ken.
Kill. And one I lose. 70.
Okay, so we see Jonny take 1 from the trigger from the Marionette Apprentice.
Yep.
The servo dies, the apprentice dies, the whale sticks around, one of the Oozwags dies, and when the dust has settled, now this Arna is looking very, very scary for Ken Yukuhiro. Oh, well, for Jonny Guttman on behalf of Ken Yukuhiro.
Yeah. Ken also has a deep analysis in hand. So, Oh.
Great.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Glasswing Grace.
Glasswing Grace.
Oh,
Glasswing
no.
Grace with the Anna Kennerud before and you can
6,
see,
8,
look at this,
10.
Ken Yukuhiro. His hands are shaking with excitement.
Yeah, that's a second Grace, I believe. So this is, I'm counting 16 with flying lifelink.
Yep, this is a 10-10 flying whale. As we know, in Magic, most whales fly, Marnie.
No,
And-
always fly.
And this is certainly one of those flying whales. It now has
one of the flying whales of all time.
Glasswing Grace on it. Oh my
That
goodness.
was a draw for Ken Yukuhiro.
That was huge off
My
the top
goodness.
here. And of course, the Hydra having reach is able to block here.
Yes.
But that is still a massive, massive swing as the Ana is really putting in a shift here. Ken, up to 18.
It's not often you see 16 life gained in an attack, but I believe Jonny just lost the game immediately after being so close to winning it multiple times over the past few turns.
That was the best Glasswing Grace that anyone has ever cast.
I
On the
believe
way
that.
to a 3-0 finish here at the Pro Tour, day 2 here, Ken Yukuhiro, the rip of a lifetime for him.
A 9-2 start as well. Not going to take much.
No, and look, we love to see players like Ken succeed, thrive, and flourish.
And this is really what you start thinking about as draft winds down and day 2 of a Pro Tour.
He is so happy to have gotten across the line. Look at that. My goodness, Ken Yukuhiro, a very, very fortunate series of draws for him with Anna Kennerud into the Glasswing Grace, proving far, far too much for poor old Jonny Guttman to overcome. So, our 3-0 drafter, once again in the feature match area, Money, playing Demir.
Yeah, we're really seeing just the absolute power of that deck and Jonny head in hands because, you know, as I said, one turn he was 1 damage away, and a player in that spot, you begin thinking, did I miss a point of damage somewhere?
Yep.
Could I have found that point of damage earlier to allow me to get the win? And unfortunately, the answer was maybe. We don't know. He'll figure that out. But the result is Ken comes away from a win and now puts himself in excellent position heading towards the top 8.
And I hope Johnny's able to get his head in the game here and make sure that he you know, shakes it off, comes back better and stronger, ready to go as we get stuck in to our modern rounds. As indeed, I hope you are around the world. We're going to get underway with modern coverage before very much longer. Head back to the news desk after this short break to set things up, and then it's time for 60 Card Constructed. I know you can't wait. We'll be there very, very soon. Stay with us here from Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3.